Cynthia asked me to introduce her poetry reading, and I'm delighted to be able to do so. I first met Cynthia at Jude Neal poetry reading on beautiful Bowen Island. We instantly connected, and before we parted, I was presented with a copy of Cynthia's book of poetry, Rainforest in Russet. That evening, while reading Cynthia's poetry, I was overcome with amazing images of paintings in my mind's eye. Her use of color, interwoven with majestic imagery, spoke to me as an artist. I immediately approached Cynthia to see if she would be interested in collaborating with me on a book and showing my paintings along with her poetry at different venues. Cynthia was delighted with the idea and further requested that she write additional poetry to some of my paintings that inspired her creative spirit. And so began our creative collaboration. Since working with Cynthia, I have come to appreciate how active Cynthia is in the world of creative writing. She is an accomplished writer and teacher, as well as a talented poet. Cynthia has been published and broadcasted internationally. Her poetry has appeared in numerous literary journals and anthologies on 5 continents and was nominated for the Pushcart Prize and Best of the Net anthology.
Thank you so much, Jilly. It's my great honor and privilege to get to work with Jilly Watson. I love the magic realism in her work. I've been so inspired by some of the paintings like Sanctuary that you'll see during this presentation that I meditated in front of that one for an hour a day, and have so many poems that have come up from it. So we're only going to give you a small taste of our collaboration. We'll just share about 20 minutes worth of poetry and poems, but there are so many more paintings and poems that you can find. I'll even mention now, you can Google us online. In case you don't make it to the end, you can Google us online to see more paintings and hear more poetry. So I'm gonna get started. The first one, we've written these in 2 ways. I've written these in 2 ways. Some of them, in some cases, Jilly painted to my poems, and in other cases, I wrote poems to her paintings, as she mentioned. So the first one is a case where the painting was done to the poem, and I'm just going to share it with you here. So we're just taking a moment here for my screen to come up. Okay. So when I was putting my Rainforest and Russet book together, I was trying to choose between hundreds of poems to get them down to 80 that would go in the book. And I've been walking around my living room. My neighbor had given me these beautiful purple daisies. And as I was walking around the coffee table selecting which poems would go in the book and what order to put them in, I thought, all these poems, petals on a purple daisy of my life. And then Jilly created this beautiful magic realist daisy to go with that poem. The next one is also a case where the poem came first and Jilly created the painting Colorful Flowers to go with it. This is for all the flowers. There is nowhere that I need to be, only the desire to stand out in the sun. The next one is a case where the painting came first. This is Dear Encounter, and I wrote 2 poems to it. One is To Breathe All the Colors. Art is being a child, seeing the world anew, our birthright to engage gently. Foliage dancing like a Jackson Pollock design. All the colors that come on the wind, splashed across island landscapes, the promise of summer, richness to hold. And the next one is called The Space Between Notes. Fresh cause in morning grass, the scent of summer, my grandmother making cocoa and walking me through forest trails. With all the time in the world, pink and white in each other's footsteps, blue and gray melted together, a deer sensing our innocence, that we're vegetarian, cautiously tasting friendship, kindred spirits in awe of creation, those beloved days of us. Jilly and I both happen to be vegetarian, so I wanted to put that into the poem. This next one is a case where the painting was done to one of my poems that is in Rainforest and Russet. And it's written, the painting is done to the first stanza of the poem. The poem is Dreaming with Tulips. From a bulb inside Earth's womb, roots penetrate the soil. Luminous through snow, candescent colors overflow the boundaries of time. Tulips vibrantly answer the call. Stems grow beyond the edges of vases, curve like rivers, forge in new directions, and define for themselves who they are. Unafraid of transition, tulips allow the flow of life to turn their insides into buttercup yellow elixir, falling on fairies like a gentle halo, Ophelia's spirit risen. So you can tell that I teach Shakespeare for a living, and I really wanted a better ending for Ophelia than what she got. I wanted her spirit to come back and get to see the feminism that exists today. All of these paintings, I feel like every single one is my favorite. This is one of my all-time favorites. This is Leafy Lane, which Jilly painted for some of the leafy lanes that she and her husband have hiked through. And I thought that the treetops looked like flowers. And so I called this poem Sky Flowers. Branches mingle into sky flowers, a canopy of butterflies setting sail, the blossoming of talent from a hidden cove of ideas, the work of the trunks to manifest largely the kernel within, to dream in blends and bends of a sea green world, the magnificence and relief of standing tall. We are fluorescent fronds of tree fish, swimming through phosphorescent foam to a clear path of what we deserve to be. The mysticism of color, the aura of forest made tangible. Like ancient dragonflies, the esoteric heart of the world, tasting creation, we embrace permission and freedom to go directly to where we most need and want to be, an island cocoon of love, light, and safety. In the communion of trees, we learn by steadily working, day by day, season by season, stretching branches to finally flourish, that self-actualization is for the good of all. Our growth protects others. What feels right must be the evolution of consciousness mirroring creation. All of these are special. This next one is special because it's a painting of Snub Cove, and I wrote my poem to the painting. And I got my idea from the poem, both from the painting and from a book a friend of ours, Jude Neal, put out called Impromptu, which is also available on Amazon. And in that book, she gives us prompts to get writing. And the prompt was add a day to any month and tell me what you would do with it. So I chose May, and I dedicated it to Jude Neal and to this painting of Snub Cove, which is the ferry terminal on Bowen Island where she lives. So this is called To Lie Down in Green Pastures. And of course, you recognize the allusion to the Bible, to lie down in green pastures. If I could add a day to any month, I would give it to May so I could see you tomorrow. I would read Harry Potter all morning in bed, inscribe my dreams in its pages. Then don the coral Italian silk blouse with billowing sleeves that I paid too much for, and paint my nails cherry tree floral with lime leaves because I deserve to be pretty. I would breathe spring light and wear pink petals in my hair. Let the wind weave ocean mist through my curls as I inhale the aroma of fresh sea salt, ferrying over to your love. I travel to friends who make me write poems, who pick me up and drop me off at the shore, and share the afternoon reciting verse on comfortable couches, who serve me white wine with homemade cauliflower soup and invite me to peruse photo albums of opera performances and lifetimes of story, with only a labradoodle to keep time. I would taste the starlight in royal blue skies, aquamarine blossoms traveling deep in the night, and live solely on my terms. That's dedicated to Jude because she does a poem every day during April for Poetry Month. And she told me I deserve an hour a day, no matter what else I'm doing, I deserve an hour a day to join her and write poems. And so she even started sending me prompts to help it along. This next one I really love because the painting is Bridge to Terabithia. So Jilly did a painting to a novel that we both love, and then I wrote a poem to her painting to the novel. And get going here. Actually, I wrote two poems because Jilly's paintings inspire me so much. Once I get going, I can't stop. So I'll share two poems that are written to this. The first is a haiku called Stay in the Light. Beautiful rendition of light, you are always allowed your center. And that's dedicated to every one of you watching right now. This next one is called Emancipation. I run through redwood to rich black earth, absorbing my ashes. Rainforest reaping sky, body in sunlight, starlight and trees growing out of me, dawn and night, eternity in forest, cool air, ferns, cedar, home. And since we're approaching the holiday season, I get to share another, they're all my favorites, but another favorite of mine by Jilly is called First Snow. And when I looked at this, it reminded me of teens being safe. The trees look so young and beautiful, and yet also so strong and safe. And they also remind me of all the beautiful hotel Christmas trees we look at in Vancouver. So I called this Sisters of the Meadow, magical and raw at once. Fairy saplings in winter, persimmon and pistachio, holiday tinsel come to life, adorn their natural environment, roots intact, allow the depth of their beauty for its own sake. Incantations of blue in the stillness of the lake, quietly into their core. Pristine pine babies, delicate twings dancing safely, protect the brave red fringe of wild flora, the undefined graciousness of being. And that's from a mountain trail that Jilly and her husband often go hiking on. And this next one is also from those hikes that they take. And I was just in awe of the majesty of what it must feel like to be so high up with the birds. So I wrote this little poem to Black Tusk, the painting, and I called the poem Black Tusk as well. The flap of a bird's wings, a heartbeat, a breath in and out, the exhalation of nothing into universe. Then we're up to the painting that I was so taken by that I meditated for an hour a day in front of it. I just can't get over how gorgeous this is. If you look in it, you can see so much in it. And so I wrote quite a few poems to this one. It's inspired by Sanctuary, This is a haiku. Cathedral passage, archway to the eternal, the inside of light. This next one I called the Temple of Trees. Tangerine path opens to the universe. Empyrean risen made strong. Veins flow, leaves fall. I feel your gentle curves. Embrace entropy. Spread into earth. The birth canal we imagine death to be. Inside the trunk, palpable palms unveil a center of light. The paradox inside trees. A golden tunnel to the core. The moon a carriage, a whole earth in its cradle. An embryo to another world. An inverse cocoon spiraling beyond the descent back. The next one I wrote to this painting is called In an Evergreen Altar. Shadows won't catch you if you beam toward radiance. Stay focused and strong in the saffron night, no longer manipulated by misguided obligation to enter any darkness not meant for you. Inhale the auspicious candescence infused with the scent of cedar, a candle along a pomelo path to your inner child. Let the quicksand of depression dissolve on its own. Stream along starlit stones in forest soil, through blood vessel rivulets to dissolution, the return to nothing, reborn in light, arteries pulsating, universe creating, destination in sight. Flow to the heart, the inner transcendence of trees, a wrapped mummy in womb time bliss to eternity. And then this next poem is dedicated to all of Jilly's paintings and to Jilly herself. I called it Jilly. She is always painting a path toward the light. Her use of color, the chakras of trees, manifesting all the dimensions of forest. Then we're going to go visit Poppies and Dragonflies. And this is one where the painting was done to the poem in my book. The poem is Poppies and Dragonflies in the Grace of the Wind, Ancestral Spirits Call. And if you look up, if you Google Jilly and find her paintings, you'll see there were a whole lot of paintings that were done to this poem. Then we're going to go to a poem I wrote that's for a book I'm doing called Meditations with Writers, Meditations for Writers. It's a new book that'll be coming out next year. And it's inspired by this painting of The View by Jilly Watson. I'm so inspired by her work. I actually did 25 poems to go with this painting, and they're going to be a new book. I called it Breathing with Trees, the Novelist's Piece. I stretch into morning, my own dreams and voice, free of extraneous clutter, pausing with pine and cool air. Engage in the yoga and walks and exercise we are allowed every day. Remove the barriers that never existed between the universe and our gifts. Write with trees, a miracle worth pursuing, for all the beauty our fragile selves can find. Stand in the radiance of evening, where quiet meets health and energy rests, in spring sunsets wrapping the earth, traversing time as all is renewed. The moon by my side, starlight on the wind, whether or not I ever finish. So that's to everyone writing a novel, because the beauty is on the journey. And I know we have put all this pressure on ourselves to finish and get our products out. But I think getting to write every day and getting to be with our art is the real gift. This last one is Rainforest in Russet is the name of the poem, and Choosing the Way is the name of the painting. And in this case, we'd actually done these separately, but they go so well together that we're pairing them now. And the poem, I love collaborations. This is a great honor for me to get to collaborate both with Jilly Watson, the painter, and our dear friend Jude Neal, poet. So this poem is co-written with Jude, and it's in my book, Rainforest in Russet, and also in her books. So this is Rainforest in Russet. In the silence between breaths, my truth rises. I fall into the space where the forest captures light. Is this the question or the answer? To trust this journey of closure. A new opening repertoire. I dig for you in the shadows of dying gray matter to find a slip, a morsel of memory. How we set up your chessboard the night we met. Photograph the pieces in their complicity to be art. The queens, their own fashion statements, balanced in the spotlight. Horses rode across the checkered landscape, free of battle scars or fear. Configurations came and went. We both knew the game transcended competition. Our strategy, a decades-long tango of connection. We played until slivers of dawn shone on an empty stage. Now at the threshold of rainforest in Russet, ash into earth, to whatever is or isn't, I am released. So that's for everyone celebrating decades-long relationships where you learn that it's about sharing the spotlight. It's about lifting each other up. That's the end of my poetry reading. I just want to thank everyone for tuning in, and especially thank Jilly for the honor it is to get to work with her. It's been a great privilege.
Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. Some of Cynthia's poems can be found in Rainforest and Russet on Amazon, and you can find both Cynthia and myself by Googling us on the internet. I also have a website at nsartists.ca/Jilly Watson, and you can also find me in the Catching Stars Gallery on Bowen Island. Thank you again, and thank you, Cynthia. Really enjoyed this collaboration.